Hello there, you're watching Africa News, bringing you the top stories on the continent, the headlines. Conflicting reports over whether a ceasefire deal has been reached with Boko Haram, as well as an agreement to free 219 abducted schoolgirls. In Cameroon, maternal mortality has steadily increased over the past 20 years. The recent death of a campaigner for family health has once again brought the issue into the spotlight. And in Ivory Coast, the government's to close the country's biggest landfill. But in some places, the growing mass of waste has become unmanageable. We bring you an exclusive report from Abidjan. But first to our top story. There are conflicting reports this Friday over whether the Nigerian military has reached a deal with Boko Haram militants. Nigeria's Chief of Staff, Alex Badi, suggested earlier there'd been a ceasefire agreement with the militant group and a deal over the release of 219 schoolgirls abducted in April. Nigeria's chief security spokesman has since contradicted that claim. Lucy Proven reports on the girls who were abducted 6 months ago.
They are between 12 and 17 years old. Their kidnappers filmed them veiled and reciting the Quran. 276 girls kidnapped from their secondary school in April by the Nigerian extremist Islamist group Boko Haram. Its chief threatened to sell them as sexual slaves if members of his organisation were not released.
I swear to the Almighty God that you will not see them again until you release our people that you captured.
50 girls managed to escape, but as the others remained in captivity, the world was outraged. From First Lady Michelle Obama to politicians and singers, the hashtag #BringBackOurGirls exploded across social media. And even when the news agenda moved on, their families never stopped their campaign.
We are here today to demand the immediate and urgent return of our girls. We are angry Nigerians. It's taken too long.
President Goodluck Jonathan has been criticised for his slow response to the crisis. On Friday, the government announced it had reached a ceasefire with Boko Haram and an agreement that the girls would be released.
The agreement was reached at a meeting between a federal government official, Boko Haram representatives, and officials of the Chadian government. The negotiations continue next week.
Boko Haram has released no statement on the ceasefire as yet.
Well, staying with this story, there's been no confirmation from Boko Haram about a deal to release the girls. Doubts have been raised concerning the alleged breakthrough. Uga Uzuma is in Lagos. He says questions are being raised over whether the declaration is politically motivated.
I am surprised because so I've come out to say that it's signing a ceasefire. There is an indication that this is likely to be tailoring towards having peace for the 2015 general election so as to curtail violence or anything that may disrupt the election. But coming to say 6 months after the girls have stayed in the hands of these people, it's another different thing, because if government can actually sign this agreement and come to terms with this, they should have done this before now so that the girls could have been rescued before now. So it's like coming at a very later time when things may have deteriorated.
Well, Cameroon, meanwhile, said today its army has killed 107 Boko Haram militants in fighting this week, claiming success against the Nigeria-based militant group. In other news on the continent, international pledges to fight Ebola in West Africa have yet to impact on the epidemic. The message from Médecins Sans Frontières this Friday, as the charity, which is active across West Africa, said the virus is out of control. Nearly £250 million has been donated to UN agencies since an appeal in September, but the UN estimates $1 billion is needed to tackle the epidemic. Well, meanwhile, East African countries are taking extra precautions to contain the virus at their international airports. Until now, the disease has been confined to West Africa, but the WHO says Kenya could be a high-risk zone for Ebola due to daily flights to West Africa. The East African Community Bloc has announced it's to send 600 health workers to the worst-hit countries, Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone. Well, next, in Cameroon, maternal deaths have steadily increased over the past 20 years, reaching a critical 782 deaths per 100,000 births. That's according to a 2011 consensus. The recent death of a young campaigner for family health has once again brought the issue into the spotlight. Like many women, Flawn Galemu has struggled to access prenatal care. She died hours after giving birth on October the 1st. Coraline Molinet reports from Douala.
In Cameroon, childbirth remains a dangerous and at times fatal event. David lost his wife when she gave birth to their fourth daughter at a large hospital in Douala. 8 years on from the tragedy, he's still angry.
As she had mentioned the chance of caesarean, I went to find the surplus for this possibility because you have to pay before the operation, before the intervention of doctors. When I got to the hospital, there was no one, neither doctors nor midwives. There is a child that lies in the blood and a mother who is already dead. She had been left alone.
Rural areas are the most affected by maternal mortality due to a lack of access to healthcare and skilled staff. In the city, there may be better access to health services, but many pregnant women don't have the means to visit the doctor.
Madam, you have not done ultrasound. Why you did not do ultrasound?
There is no money.
Well, she tells you that there is no money, so this is our real problem here.
At this small hospital situated in one of Douala's poorer neighbourhoods, most patients are unable to afford prenatal care. Many don't go to the doctors until they're in their third trimester.
It's too late, too late because the woman arrives in the third trimester not having had HIV testing, vaccines and ultrasounds that normally occur each trimester. It is not only the mother's life that is in danger, but also that of a child.
In May, the government launched a programme to fight against maternal mortality, but for now, the rate of maternal deaths in Cameroon remains 70 times higher than in France.
Well, let's take a look at some news in brief. In South Africa, the Paralympian Oscar Pistorius has left Pretoria High Court not knowing whether he's to serve jail time. Prosecutors and the defence presented their final arguments in the case ahead of sentencing next Tuesday. Pistorius was found guilty of the negligent killing of his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day last year. Mozambique's main opposition party, RENAMO, has vowed to challenge fraudulent results, suggesting the ruling Frelimo party has won national polls. RENAMO's leader, Alfonso da Clama, claims Wednesday's presidential and legislative elections were marred by widespread irregularities. Da Clama has, however, vowed that Mozambique won't return to civil war. In Mali, at least 6 people have been killed in violence between armed factions and pro-government militias. Mali's northern desert region is home to nomadic Tuaregs who want greater autonomy for a region known as Azawad for decades. The clashes in Gao come just ahead of peace talks later this month in Algiers. And finally, Ivory Coast government has announced it's to close the biggest landfill in the country. Situated in Aquedo, central Abidjan, the growing mass of waste has been dubbed a health hazard. This report from France 24, Arnaud Froger, Anna Sylvestre Trene and Tamazin Ford.
The mountains of putrid waste are endless. The city's rubbish has been dumped here for the last 50 years. Garbage trucks stream in daily, unloading around 3,000 tonnes of rotting waste every day. For nearby residents, it's a living nightmare.
Our little village of Aquedo is really being overtaken by waste. If this continues, in 2 or 3 years, Aquedo will no longer exist. It will be a waste site.
The neighbourhood of Aquedo is not far from here, the city centre. For residents, the smell is one of the hardest things to bear. It latches on to everything. But it's the diseases spread by the flies and animals living off of the muck that are particularly dangerous.
When you get up in the morning, you feel like your body's burning. You ache, some people get cancer, and some young women become sterile. So here we don't really feel alive. The people of Aquedo are like the walking dead.
8 years ago, toxic waste was also dumped at the landfill, with lasting consequences for the environment and the people. Many still suffer from strange illnesses.
People are exposed to diseases like typhoid, malaria, and also skin diseases. We found that the life expectancy of these people is much lower than in the rest of Ivory Coast.
Life expectancy in Akwedo is 45. That's 5 years less than the rest of the country. The closure of these mountains of muck is good news, but residents will still have to live alongside their unhealthy neighbour for at least another 5 years.
Right, you're up to date with Africa News. Chris Moore is here next with more international headlines.
France 24, history in the making.